Now, it's a case of moral policing, and that too by self-proclaimed Shiv Sena workers of Moral Brigade. They were caught on camera threatening couple sitting at Marina Drive in Kochi. These are couples who are not indulging in any violent activity. They're just sitting there, and this is what the self-proclaimed moral police of Shiv Sena went ahead and threatened these couples, shaming them, also name-calling them, all in the name of protecting the culture and the permission to protect. What about safety?
Okay, so do you remember when and how you first learned about sex?
Yeah, I was in 6th grade, like 11, 12 years old, and I got to know it from my aunt. So she was pregnant and she was like going through an encyclopedia and she was telling me about everything that is in that book, and she's like, do you know how babies are made? I'm like, no. so yeah, she told me about how babies are made, and I was like, okay, that's disgusting, but
My mother is an Orthodox Hindu. Apparently, you should only have sex with your wife, and she's quite apprehensive that she thinks I am a virgin, but deep down she knows that I am not. Because she's caught me a number of times, like with me sneaking girls into the house, or maybe she found protection or something like that. And she confronts me with that, and then I feel very awkward answering all these questions like, who do you do it with? And then she also had this apprehension that, do you go to prostitutes or something like that? Like, why are you not telling me? And I felt very bad about that. Like, I understand it's out of love, because she thinks that I should concentrate more on my career and make something more out of myself before concentrating on these things. So it's quite difficult with my mom. She's not a bad person or anything, but she just doesn't understand, because she came from a very different background. During that time, it was just husband and wife. She did not date anybody in her school or college days, and even after my father passed away, I was open for the idea that she would remarry or something like that, but she was like absolutely against that. It's her personal choice now, and I sort of leave it up to the generation gap, because we have nearly about 35 years to 37 years of gap between both of us. So yeah, the thinking and the mindset is all different.
Frankly, I don't. Like, I really don't know how I learned about sex, or when was the first time I kind of thought about it consciously. It's just, it never occurred to me that, I have to learn about it. I have to know what it is. Like, it was through media, through, English serials or movies, or something like that, where I kind of got my idea of what it actually is, because how Bollywood movies are.
I'm sure I was somewhere around 12, and I had a fair idea about it from movies, but I learned about the details of it from a cousin of mine who was like 6 years elder to me, so he was somewhere around 18. So he was like a tutor who sat and who explained things to me. So he was a student of biology. So he literally showed me a diagram of the female genital and explained stuff, and that's how I learned about it, like technically learned about it for the first time.
And what role did your family play in your sexual education?
That's the only role my family has played in it, because he was a cousin, and that's all, nothing else. I mean, in terms of sexual education, nope, nothing else.
Same here. I don't think I've ever had the talk with my family or my parents or my sister in that way.
Oh, if that counts, I once had a brief talk with my mom about menstruation cycles. That's all.
but I never talked about it to my parents or friends. We used to talk, but it was like a shameful thing, but I didn't feel ashamed to talk about it. I like to discover myself. I like to know about things.
Where do you think the shame came from?
Because we don't really talk about sex with our parents or with anyone, and they don't really talk about it. Even about my periods, I got to know about it when I got it. Like, my mom never told me how to use the sanitary napkin, and whenever, like, she used to hide it, and I didn't know about it.
I never spoken to my parents about it, and I very distinctly remember that when I was very small, and I had this habit of sleeping, like, upside down, and I had this habit of rubbing myself on the mattress. And my parents were very worried of the fact that I was doing it when I was so small. And they had taken me to a doctor and, asked the doctor what's wrong with her, why is she doing it right now, and all of that. And so, yeah, that happened. And I think I had kind of stopped doing it for a very long time. But, it's something that kind of gives you pleasure. So, for them, that happening at such a young age was a bit of a shock. But yeah, other than that, they've really not spoken to me about what is sex and what happens.
Indian society don't really appreciate talking about sex and premarital sex. It's a sin that you're doing. I think that's what they think, and they even they have been in that situation. Still, they wouldn't want their son or daughter to do that thing what they did.
And do you remember what it was like when you began encountering your own sexuality?
It was fun.
Encountering my sexuality, I think happened when I was 14, 15, when, I started liking boys. I had something for them, and, I kind of wanted that, I wanted that attention from a boy, that, he would just say that, oh, she looks pretty and I want to go out with her, whatever.
So for me, it was really confusing because I was already seeing a girl and I kind of felt attracted to guys and I didn't really understand what it was. And I told her that, hey, I've been, feeling attracted to a few guys. And she said, okay, let's explore. And it didn't really happen though. So in the initial phases, it was really confusing. But then as I went ahead with time, I kind of grew comfortable with it and I knew it. So yeah, that's it.
I think I started feeling this way since the very beginning, that I was attracted to other men since puberty hit me, because the first time I felt attracted to someone else was a man and it wasn't a woman. And I guess my first actual physical encounter that kind of cemented the idea that this is not just something I feel, but this is something that I enjoy when I do it. Happened the first time I had an experience like that with a boy, maybe at 15. So yeah.
And was it positive?
Definitely. I mean, I don't know, there was something about me that never felt all that much guilt about it. I think maybe the larger guilt was that I was doing this in my room while my parents were away and they didn't know. Or the fact that I'm doing this when I shouldn't be because, the society says that I'm too young or I'm underage. But very little of it felt like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this because this is not what people do. This is a sin or whatever.
My first porn I watched was on my brother's iPod, okay? I didn't know that was there, and I got really excited, like, what? Wow, okay, this looks fun, but it's kind of, like, violent, but does this really happen in real life? And when I started, like, knowing about myself, and I didn't know whom to talk to about, because I was so young, and it felt so good, yeah.
So the first time I encountered my sexuality, I was quite scandalized. I had to go and ask people what's going on with my body, and then most of them did not answer. But only my father would be the person who would tell me, like, this happens to you and you have to go through this and everything. So it was quite a learning curve that way. It was fun.
I think because they never spoke to me about it, so I didn't know what it was. So she just didn't want me to, get into the wrong hands, and she didn't want that assault on me. So, but at the same time, she never really spelled it out to me that what's like, what feel like when it's right, what it feels like. Like, she never spelled it out to me. So that curiosity kind of was always there, that why is she stopping me when she's not even telling me what it is.
In our family, we don't talk about sex, right? And so yeah, they never told me what sex is. They never told me about what intimate relationships are. Like, I feel for some guy, I like that guy, but I don't know what it is, right? Like, is it like a sexual attraction, or I really love him, or I don't know.
I don't know. It's just like I feel embarrassed to go and ask a woman, like, do you have protection? Like, it's just a mental mindset thing. I don't think it was just a phase when I was younger, because maybe I basically am a very introvert person. I find it very difficult to have conversation with people.
So you felt like Indian culture was kind of shaming you?
Yes, Indian culture is quite non-friendly to sexuality and things that are related to sexuality or sex, and people also look down upon you. They have this thing in their head that you can only have sex if you're married to that person.
Okay, so that guilt came from a space of hearing constantly that it's unnatural, it's a sin, it's not meant to be this way, it doesn't lead to progeny, and things like that. And it definitely changed over a period of time. As I started educating myself more about it, as I read more about it, as I became comfortable in my own skin, it kept reducing. And as I grew more comfortable, I came out to a circle of close friends, and thankfully they were very supportive of the entire idea of it. And so that helped me a lot to overcome the guilt and be positive about myself.
The whole idea around physical intimacy in India, I think is very it's very private oriented. Like, you showing your physical intimacy outside of your house or outside the four walls of your room is kind of seen in a very offensive kind of a manner, where you have to be a little, okay, you can't do this in a public space. Like, holding hands is fine, but like doing something, kissing each other or doing whatever is considered a little offensive. So you kind of have to have that decorum and decency wherever you go, like whichever public space that is.
I hail from a small city. It's not as big as the city I'm currently staying in. So change of space also helped me a lot. Like, the environment in the bigger city was much better compared to my hometown. So even that helped me grow and get rid of the guilt.
It was mostly I think on TV or in magazines where there's sex scenes or kissing scenes, not sex scenes, and my parents would usually close my eyes because I was quite young or something. But I would still have that that inquisitiveness to understand like what's going on and why they're doing it. And slowly as time progressed, people in your school and friends around, they tell you things, and then you discuss things like, okay, you can kiss a girl and you can do things other than that, and then you sort of self-enlighten yourself. But like, I was given a proper sex education by my father. I went to an African school, so we did not have any sex education there, but my father made it a point to make sure that he told me everything around like when I was maybe 11 years old. So that's how I've like come to know about everything. And we did not have internet back then, so it was quite difficult that way.
How did that conversation go with you?
It was, I had no idea why he was talking to me about such things. He was quite awkward, I could see, because he generally did not smoke, but he was smoking that time.
When I passed my 10th standard and 11th grade, so my dad and I had a talk. So he didn't tell me directly about sex. He was like, now you'll fall in love with someone and you'll feel like having moments with him, but you need to decide for yourself that is that guy really worth it, like, and he started talking to me about his relationship with my mom. He was like, yeah, I fell in love with your mom. I married her, and since then she's the one for me. When I thought that I should do it. Everybody is doing it. Why can't I do it? And my friends were talking to me about sex, and they were like, "It's amazing. It feels so good." I'm like, okay, but why? Like, and me and my best friend, we promised to like do it after marriage, and and she broke our pact, and that kind of influenced me, and I decided to do it. When I was in 12th standard, I was really afraid though, and 12th was like 15 or 16, I guess. 16, 17. So I was so nervous, and then the words my dad, that talk, I was totally, I was like, I could see my dad in front of me, and I was like, I can't do this. I just love that guy. I'm sorry, I can't do this. So yeah, that was something I decided to not to do. And when I was really ready for it, when I accepted that partner completely, and something I can show my body to, and it's okay to have hair on your legs, it's okay to have hair on your body. So I was at that comfort level. I thought, yeah.
What about your families?
Go ahead.
I am till date not out to my family in terms of my sexuality. And so, like I said, I come from a very small city, so it's going to be very difficult for my family to accept it, owing to the fact that they have known the girl I was dating.
Right.
So the first question my parents are gonna ask me is, "Oh, but you like girls? Oh, but you have been with a girl? Oh, but you can do it with a girl? Then why would you want to be with a guy?" So I am just waiting for a really very strong reason to come out to my family. As such, right now I don't really have a very strong reason to come out to my family. It's going so far so good. So I don't really know how would it go when I come out to them.
I feel insulted that I'm not the strong enough reason, but that's okay.
Oh, you don't want to be the strong enough reason. That's the problem.
Yeah, actually, I don't want to. In terms of my family, I unfortunately have not found the right way to come out to them, but I did recently come out to my sister. My parents will still be a uphill battle to try and figure out how exactly to even communicate with them clearly about general personal life details, which barely are spoken about, till I actually get to the actual, magnum opus of my life, who I fuck.
Okay. That's the magnum opus of his life.
Back to the topic. It was a really funny instance how I came out to my sister. We were both drunk, and she was telling me for the first time about her boyfriend, and I thought, hey, it's like the right time to let her know
Let me
about
tell
mine.
you about my boyfriend.
Yeah, pretty much. It was nice. She had a very blank poker face, but that's fine.
The first time I got sexually active was during my high school, and I was probably 17 and a half, 18, and my girlfriend was an Indian girlfriend in Africa, and we talked about it a lot, and she had a magazine in which there were different sex positions and everything, and I saw that and understood most of it, and then one day we decided to do it, but we didn't have a condom, so that was a really bad thing, if you think about it right now, because first of all, we didn't have access to buying one, and so we just did it that way, and I was quite happy about it.
Finding strategies in terms of, finding a place where there's nobody or there are only couples are the kind of strategies most of the Indian couples kind of employ, because they know that anywhere else that they go, they are going to be, seen in a much different way, where they have to be control their actions. And so I recently was in a relationship, and that was my first relationship. So when we wanted to go out, or we wanted to kind of find a place, we would go to a garden where you can just sit for a long time, and spend time together.
My mom sometimes goes to Kolhapur, and my dad never really left me alone to be alone in this city. So he used to ask me to go to my uncle's place or to my aunt's place and not be alone. I was like, I'll stay with my best friend Yashasvi. She used to stay here, so I was like, I'll stay with her. So I started doing that. So but I used to hang out with my boyfriend that time. We used to stay together, and we used to make use of that time. So, but they used to call me, where are you? Where is Yashasvi? And like, yeah, she's here. She's going to come. We are going to make food and all those things. So basically, I had to lie to them, but that's how you do it. Like, I don't know. There was no other way to spend time with your boyfriend or get to know someone.
So your family create an environment where you feel like you can't just be free. How did that make, what kind of emotions did that conjure?
When this happened for the first time, I really could not understand why my mother reacted the way she did. She was really angry, and she was like, I will not let you go out. I will not, give you a mobile and whatever, things like that. But now that I talk to her about such things, she has a very different, kind of an attitude to these things now. Now if I talk to her, she would just be like, just be careful.
Basically, you can't just be friends. Like somebody will pass a comment at you, or people who are walking by would stare down at you. So it is quite bad that way.
What kind of strategies did you deploy to be able to spend time together and to be intimate with each other?
Generally during college days, let's go study. And we would probably come in the afternoon to my place, or maybe go to her place if no one was at her place. But it was very difficult because your homes are not usually empty. There would always be somebody, like your parent or your brother or somebody. So it would be like, let's go maybe to a mountain top or hilltop, and it'll be peace and quiet there.
When you are in a gay relationship, you can call a friend home and just be like, oh, this is just a friend of mine, this boy, who's our neighbor. And we're going into my room to just chill. Yeah. My first experience happened in my bedroom at 15 because my parents thought I was just chilling with this boy.
For me, when I was seeing the girl, so we were schoolmates. This was back when I was in high school. So she would come home for studying together, and we would do maths together. And
you put 2 and 2 together?
No, not really, because I could not really do that at my home. But yeah, so she used to live with her grandparents, who used to sleep at 8 p.m. So yeah, so we could do the 2 and 2 together at her place after 8. And
straight sex, I love hearing about it.
Yeah.
So what happened, I called my boyfriend over, okay, I snuck him inside, and I was in Kolhapur for my vacations and Diwali vacations, and everybody was sleeping, and I was sleeping in my brother's bedroom. He was not there. So me and my grandmom, we shared a room. So that night I was sleeping in my brother's room, and I called that guy over. We planned. So and that happened, and when I told him to wait in the room. I'll just check up on my grandma if she's sleeping. If she's not, just stop. Just don't come outside. But he came outside, and my grandmom just woke up, and she created a scene. What is this guy doing here? It's 2 a.m. I was hungry, so he bought me food. My grandmom is the first thing in the morning, you're talking to your dad about this. Okay, fine, we'll talk about this. So that happened, and next morning I was sleeping so peacefully, and everybody rushed in the bedroom when my grandmom told my dad, and my mom came, my dad came, and they were like, what was this guy doing? My mom started, she's so melodramatic. She's like, I'm gonna faint. What was the guy doing in the bedroom? So that's kind of notion they have. They cannot accept the fact that your daughter is sexually active. And my brother, he used to get his girlfriends home, and they used to sleep over at our place in his room, and that was never questioned.
And with this one, surprisingly, we were neighbors when we started seeing each other. So it was very easy.
I'll say that.
Yeah, of course, that was one of the reasons for you.
I'm the king of convenience. The queen, actually.
So it was very easy. So and I still work around that area. So it was very convenient meeting around the day. Any time when I would have say around 20 minutes free, and I just see him for a while, and just see him around.
20 minutes to just chill
and have a tea and a cigarette.
Yes, and other things sometimes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all.
Strategies. Oh, I'm thinking of any fun stories. I'm like calling
a there's something really romantic I would like to say. So we had this ritual of going down to the railway station for having tea late at night. And sometimes this one would feel really lazy to go down till the railway station. And the apartment I stayed in, I used to stay on the 3rd floor. And there was nobody staying from the ground floor till the 3rd floor. So the ground floor, the 1st floor and the 2nd floor were all empty. There was no one. It was like totally abandoned.
Oh, the amount of times we've made out on those.
On those staircases. So this guy would come at 2 a.m. with a cup of tea, and you would sit on the staircase, have tea, smoke, chill for a while.
Kissing is not, obviously it's not allowed, but hugging and holding hand, I think it's fine. And I didn't feel uncomfortable doing that here. And I don't feel uncomfortable. No, but kissing on the cheeks is fine. But kissing on the lips, you can't do it.
And why do you think that? Does that annoy you?
It does, it really does. And I don't know why people are like that. I mean, and they'll give you a weird stare. If that was my daughter, I would have slapped her right away. That's the kind of look they give you. So it kind of makes you uncomfortable, and my boyfriend is really shy doing it. He used to think so much before holding hands when we started dating and we started going out, and I used to go and hold his hand or just be near him. He's like, oh, Aditi, no, not here, right now. But why? People are staring at Aditi, and if there are too many men standing just there, and he thinks that I'm not really safe. People will judge me. I'm I don't give a shit about that. I don't care. It's fine. If we are together, it's fine. Who are they to? They are to judge. That's my perspective. I don't feel fearful about such situation, but my boyfriend really has such fears.
Talk a little bit about some of your experiences where you did feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. So back in Kolhapur, it's a pretty small city, okay, and people are very orthodox, and they don't accept the fact that guys and women and men can be friends, or they can hang out, or they can be in love, and it can't be open. They cannot display their love in public, okay. So what happened, I was in 11th grade, I was 15 years old or 15, 16. Yeah, so I was in 12th or 11th grade. I don't really remember that much. And I was with my guy friend, okay, and we were fooling around, playing with each other and hitting, and we were doing that, and we were just sitting in a ice cream parlor, okay, and there was this woman. She came with her son, and he was 6, 7 years old. And she was looking at us very weirdly, and we were not giving a shit about her, okay. We were just enjoying our company. So she came up to me, and she didn't know me, and she came up to me and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're not supposed to do such things in public. What will my son take from you guys? You don't do such things in public. You can't touch this guy like that. You can't play with his hair. I'm like, why? And she said, I know your father. I'm going to call your father and tell about this. And that got me all tensed up. Why? What wrong did I do?
Even if you go to a very, secluded kind of a place, there is always that, this danger of, being something wrong could happen in a secluded place. And even cars, I drive, so whenever I took my car, we would go to a very like a lonely area, and we would just sit in the car, like, because there was no other space that we could, possibly go to. Because you're always looked at in a very suspicious kind of. We had this experience where there were, the cops were searching in the garden for couples, and they were really weird in the way they reacted to the fact that we were sitting in a corner and we were talking. Like, they had this sense of suspicion where, what the fuck were you doing? Like, why were you in a corner? And why do you need to be in a garden which is not very well lit?
If you're in the car with a girl and you're just having a conversation, the cops will probably come over and they'll pull you over and they'll ask for a license, and then they'll fine you like at least 5,000 to 6,000 rupees, saying that you're behaving obscene in public. So if you look at it that way, even the police or the security forces which are in India are also against it. It's a big thing on Valentine's Day. You will actually see political parties going up and beating up couples if they are seen on Valentine's Day together. So yeah, they think it's against our religion and how we've been born and brought up. I was actually with my girlfriend in Pune and on like a hillside, and I was not actually doing anything. We were just standing and having like a conversation. And these two guys came and they tried to mug us, and they were showing the knife and everything. They put the knife to the girl's neck, and I was like absolutely scared. I thought that's the end of her, and like he's going to like swipe the knife and cut her throat open. And out of that feat of scared and anger to I somehow subdued those two guys, and I told the girl to run away, and then we had a nice fist fight, and I tied them down and everything and called the cops on him. And then he was trying to explain to the cop that he was with a girl, as if that is bad and mugging someone is good. So yeah, it was basically a pointless argument that he was trying to put up, and the cops also understood that and they let me go and everything. So it is quite scary that way.
So would it affect your relationship?
It does. We did get into some fights, and he was not okay with holding hands or hugging or kissing. He was not really comfortable doing that in public, but we talked about it, and I told him not to care about such people. It doesn't matter. And even today, what happened, he's staying over my place, okay, because there's nobody. And okay, so there's a woman who sells machi, fish. So she comes and alternating she comes, and because we eat fish, she knocks on the door and she asks if we want some fish. So she came, and my boyfriend didn't know that it was her, and he opened the door, and I was in the department, and she asked you want fish? So he's like, no. And she asked, where is the Thai? Where is the woman of the house? So he was like, she's not here. And he freaked out, and that's all happened. But he freaked out so much that woman would go and tell everything to my mom, that she saw a guy in the house, and he freaked out. He was having an anxiety attack. He calls me up and he's like, I think I fucked it up, Aditi. I think I'm so sorry, your mom is going to know about this. I'm like, about what? It's fine, I'll handle it. I'll talk to my mom. It's not a big deal. If you're just staying at my place, it's fine. I think my mom would understand that you came for some work, or I can make something up. It's fine, it's totally fine.
There were times when our relationship became long distance, because I came here and he used to, he is in a travel business, so he used to travel for 4 months. And so when he used to come back after that period, or when I was in the same city, we needed that space. We needed that, that space to bond, and we didn't have it. So I think in a way it did affect our relationship, but it also depends on how you kind of deal with the fact that you don't have that space.
What do you think about what society was telling you and then how you felt? Was there, say, a gap between your actions and what society deemed normal or right or okay, and how did you react to that?
See, in general, there are 3 aspects to it. There is your own personal family or the people closest to you, general society, and for kids under 18, their general society is their school or college and the people that they interact with on a daily basis, and their peers. And then there's media, and none of it in any way, when we were growing up at least, was in any way positive.
Supportive or positive about it, yeah.
Maybe people had started actually stopping and thinking about what they're saying, but they didn't start saying anything positive about it yet. The culture has shifted in that way. It's not completely gotten there yet, but at least people are starting conversations more often than I wish they had when I was young.
Yeah, back then it was kind of a taboo to even talk about it. So I don't remember of talking to my friends, even to my friends, about it in the initial phases, because I myself felt very confused, and I had this preconceived notions about what's right and what's wrong that had been, imbibed in me with my bringing up, with growing up in the society around. So I really felt confused with myself, and because I was even attracted to girls, so I was really confused as to what was happening. And the entire social construct of feeling that it's wrong was something that made me feel guilty sometimes and confused most times.
How did it make you feel about your sexuality when you had, say, your mother confronting you in these kind of ways?
Oh, I felt very bad about myself. I was like, oh my God, this is such a wrong thing that I'm doing. Like, my mother found, like, things at my place. Like, I felt very bad, like, and I felt very awkward, like, because I had to explain what I'm doing with all these things, and I really don't want to have that conversation with my parent. Like, that's not the way it is. So I felt bad, basically. And I hope it was not like that. Or maybe she was more understanding.
For me, the sneaking out spices it up. I don't know.
Oh, of course it's sexy.
I kind of like it.
It's so sexy. Oh my God.
It kind of, it kind of adds thrill when, you're out on a bike and you look for an abandoned street that doesn't really have lights, and you can just pass by and kind of make out while it's on the bike. So.
And like on the side of a road,
oh
and
yeah,
the police catch us.
and the cops just
That happened like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we were not doing anything frisky. I was just about to slip my hand under his shirt, pant, a bit of both. And the cops come and they just zoom and just stop right next to us. Like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Like, why are you standing here? I was like, why can I not stand here?
And he says, my pants were falling while I'm sitting on a bike and I just need to readjust it.
I told him he needs to rebuild his denim.
How can pants be falling when you're sitting on a bike? My pants...
Because there's so much... No, don't
because gravity?
Because gravity, right.
Anyway, yeah, the kind of things you have to say to the cops to get out of the situation. And at least you don't have to pay money. So. In general, the sneaking around is something that... if you've been doing it since you're growing up, trying to live this double life, try to be in this disguise that you're this human being that is like just any other person out on the street. But you have all of these things going on in your life. And even straight people lead a double life in India when it comes to their relationships. I think they just learn to deal with it.
So for me, my ex was from a very conservative family. And he was in this phase of self-denial, wherein he didn't really accept himself. And every now and then he would get this panic attacks or something, wherein he would just start feeling like, oh, whatever we're doing is wrong. And I turned into myself and I questioned myself, and I didn't really feel anything wrong about it. Because I know it has come to me very naturally, very organically.
Just in general, as he said, the kind of guilt trip he himself went through sometimes because of what his ex used to keep saying, that has been the driving force for so many relationships, queer relationships, to break and die.
Just die,
all around the world, not just here. It's the self-doubt between one or both the people in the relationship. I sometimes just feel that if a person has an issue with a topic like this and they're not really sat down to think about what love feels like, if they did, they'd know that that love can be felt between two people of any background, let it be their gender, age, or beliefs.
At first, it kind of made me feel ashamed about my sexuality. I felt bad that, I can't have the time with that person. But I kind of later realized that that's how you'll have to do it. So, at times it was thrilling that, finding a place, like just driving to far kind of, roads and just sitting there in the car and talking. So yeah, it was it was at times thrilling, but yeah, I did feel ashamed about my sexuality. I think the incident that I told you about cops was very, it made me feel very shitty at the fact that, I wanted like a secluded space, or I wanted like a space where we could show our physical love to the other person. So it kind of felt very shitty and very, I don't know, it felt very bad, to the fact that at times I also questioned if I'm doing, the right things, because I don't know if that's what you do. I mean, can you like express your physical intimacy like that, or do you always have to be confined to the four walls of the house or whatever? So yeah, it felt very weird to be questioned like that. So
Do you ever want to go out in public and show that you're a couple? Like, how do you feel about the fact that you can't walk out in the street and hold hands and kiss each other?
I mean, this has been a constant between us for a year and a half since we've been seeing each other. I have always felt so uncomfortable with PDA in general. I think it may even be, if I was straight, that I wouldn't find it that comfortable doing it with a girl out in public.
So like you said before, there are a very few advantages of being queer or gay in India that people don't really, doubt two guys walking on the street hand in hand together. Because that's a very normal thing. Like two friends, two brothers would hold hands and walk on the street.
It's a very Indian phenomenon.
I feel very weird about it all the time. Why can we not do it? But yeah.
As I said, I know why we'd be holding hands in public. Others may not, and it doesn't matter what they think anyway. It just feels nice to have that kind of validation whenever you seek it. You won't always get it. Sometimes there'll be a reason why. Sometimes there'll be no reason. Sometimes it'll be a illogical reason, like a paranoia of fear, like mine. But I'm not.
Validation from whom? From like Chaiwala?
No, validation from the other person, that you acknowledge to be with me in this space and return this gesture of physical affection, no matter where we are. Okay. If I didn't return it to you now in this privacy of the room, you'd feel offended, but there's no one watching. But I would give you possibly a reason, or I may not have a reason. Out in public, my one reason is something which is illogical to you, but still logical to me, even though I know it's not the most correct way to be about it. My point here being, if we were in a country where we could do this and we wouldn't care, or we wouldn't have any worries about there being any kind of a negative consequence to us doing this out in public. I don't know how much we would gain out of that, or how much stronger it would make our relationship, but at least would avoid this conversation that we keep having again and again. Why am I so uncomfortable?
Yeah. And what about your gender? How do you feel your gender influenced how they felt about you and you having sex?
My gender?
The fact that you're a woman. You said they treated your brother differently.
Yeah. So my gender kind of played a big role, because that's how I've been grown up. Like, women don't do such things. Women don't talk about such things, and wearing my clothes and sitting in some posture. That all has been influencing my life for so long.
Arranged marriage is a big thing in India, and if the girl does not bleed on her wedding or honeymoon night, I have heard about instances where that marriage just break up because the guy thinks that she's been dishonest or something like that. Because women were oppressed in India for many years. They would not be looked as counterparts, but they were looked down upon, and that is obviously changing right now. Most of the entire, I think women are more proficient than men these days. They are smarter than us, and they can do desk jobs really well, and it is improving. I think that we would modernize to a certain extent, but that social taboo which is there, that a woman has to sneak around and do that, I don't think that is going to go off very soon. It's probably because of the Hindu culture and everything, and where monogamy is only allowed, polygamy is not allowed. So it's going to be quite difficult, but it will slowly improve. I hope so.
If I may, when it comes to the idea of shame about someone's sexuality, I think sexuality, let it be straight or gay or anything else under the umbrella, in itself is shameful in the Indian society. People aren't talking about as much of what you do in bed as much as they're talking about how you express your sexuality in public. And if you're going to be a man who acts femme in public, in school, at your workplace, people will either talk behind your back or make it very vocal.
Yeah, just like call you names all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And that in itself makes you associate your expression to your sexuality, to your orientation, and then you start even looking at who you want to love or be with as something wrong.
Do you think India is changing?
I don't know if the way people look at, couples or, being sexually kind of expressive in the public space will change, in the near future. I don't see the change happening in that respect. But a lot of Indian couples are thinking about live-in relationships, or, they are in different cities than their parents, so they kind of, have their own spaces to kind of negotiate with, with their quality time or their private space. So in that respect, it is changing, but in the mentality, in the way people perceive it, I don't see like a change.
Consider it that way, India has invented Kama Sutra, which is like a big book on all the sexual positions and what you can do related to that. And in spite of that, we are so secretive about it. We have the second largest population, so we should sort of tell you that how much we are at it. But still, there's a big taboo about this in the society.
And what about the future? What do you think should happen, or what do you think needs to happen for India to become less sexually repressed?
I think it should be, first of all, the mindset of people needs to change. Like the way I feel about sneaking around and hiding, I absolutely hate that. I think it's quite a normal thing, and if it's consented, then I think it should be allowed to do what you want to do. But unfortunately, it's not like that. People are opening up right now, the newer generations, their parents are cool with it, with people dating and everything. But from where I came from, it was not. So I'm sort of happy for them, at least they don't have to face the difficulties that I faced. Because I had to be quite inventive, I have to find a new place every time. And it's also costly because a hotel room is quite costly and you can't really afford it every time. So, and plus the hotel rooms are also in a way that most of them are not couple friendly. They would ask for a marriage certificate if you want to go in, so you have to look for the shady one. So that's how and I hope that it improves, but let's see how it goes from now.
No, I don't. I don't feel ashamed of it. I don't feel ashamed at all.
Okay, I think that's everything.
Yeah? Okay, cool.